There are moments in life that don't announce themselves. They don't send a warning. They don't give you time to prepare. They just arrive, quietly, suddenly. And before you even realize what's happening, everything you thought you knew about yourself is sitting on the floor in pieces. And you're standing there looking down at it, wondering how you're supposed to pick it all back up. If you've ever felt that way, if you've ever sat alone at 2 in the morning staring at the ceiling, not because you couldn't sleep, but because some part of you was afraid of what tomorrow was going to ask of you, then what I'm about to share with you is going to matter. So stay with me, because this story doesn't start at the top. It starts exactly where you might be right now, at the bottom. There was a man named Daniel, not famous, not extraordinary by any conventional measurement. He grew up in a small town in Ohio, the kind of place where everyone knows your name and your business and your mistakes before you've even finished making them. He was the middle child in a family of 5, raised by a mother who worked double shifts at a diner and a father who tried his best but carried wounds of his own that he never quite figured out how to heal. Daniel wasn't the smartest kid in school, wasn't the most athletic, but he had something. This quiet fire inside him, this belief that his life was supposed to mean something, that he was supposed to go somewhere, do something, become someone. He didn't know what that something was, but he felt it. Every single day, he felt it. And for a long time, that feeling was enough. And if you're watching this right now and this channel has been a place where you come to find that fire again, I just want to say, hit that subscribe button right now if you haven't already, because we're building something here together. And I want you to be part of every step of this journey. Now, back to Daniel, because it's about to get real. By the time Daniel was 26, he had done everything he thought he was supposed to do. He graduated college, he got the job, he moved to a bigger city, he built the life that looked right from the outside, the apartment with the decent furniture, the car that was one upgrade above embarrassing, the relationship that seemed stable and comfortable and fine. Fine, that word, that dangerous, suffocating word, because fine isn't living, fine is existing. And Daniel knew the difference, even when he pretended he didn't. He would wake up in the morning and lie in bed for 20 extra minutes, not because he was tired, but because he didn't feel anything pulling him up. No excitement, no urgency, no hunger, just the dull, mechanical obligation of another day. He told himself it was temporary, and then one Tuesday morning in November, gray sky, cold air, nothing particularly significant about the day, Daniel walked into his office, sat down at his desk, opened his laptop, and just couldn't. He couldn't start the email. He couldn't make the call. He sat there for 45 minutes doing absolutely nothing, and then he got up, walked out of the building, got into his car, and drove. He didn't know where he was going. He just drove. 3 hours later, he found himself parked on the side of a road next to a lake he didn't remember the name of, and he sat there watching the water, and for the first time in what felt like years, he let himself feel all of it. He didn't have an answer, not that day, but the question stayed with him. It followed him home, sat with him at dinner, kept him company through the sleepless nights that followed. He heard loneliness. He heard a creativity that had been buried so deep it could barely breathe. He heard ambition that had been mistaken for arrogance and so it had learned to hide. He heard a person who had spent so long trying to be acceptable that he had forgotten to be authentic. But billions of them together create consciousness. A single drop of water is not wet in any meaningful sense. But bring enough of them together and you have an ocean. Emergence is the magic that happens at the intersection of chaos and combination. Slowly, clumsily, imperfectly, he started painting color back into a life that had gone gray. I want to pause here and ask you something directly. Is there an area of your life right now that has gone gray? Is there something you wake up to every day that used to light you up but now just feels like a task? Because if the answer is yes, I don't want you to panic. I don't want you to immediately start making drastic decisions or blowing up your life. What I want you to do is something much harder and much more powerful than that. I want you to get quiet and listen, not to the noise outside, but to the signal inside, because the signal is still there. It never actually leaves. A video can do to a person at the right moment. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get said enough, something that the motivational world often glosses over because it's uncomfortable and it doesn't make for a clean, tidy narrative. Growth is not linear. Change is not a straight line from broken to healed, from lost to found, from small to great. It is jagged and circular, and sometimes it feels like you are walking forward and sliding backward at the same time, and you have no idea if you're making progress or just fooling yourself. Daniel learned this the hard way, because just when he started to feel the momentum, just when he felt the color returning, felt the fire reigniting, felt himself reconnecting with something real, life threw him a curveball. His company downsized. He lost his job. 3 months after, he had just barely begun to feel like himself again. And for a moment, for a terrible, dark moment, he gave himself 60 days. 60 days to pursue the thing he'd been afraid to pursue, to write, to create, to put something out into the world that was genuinely his. No guarantee of success, no safety net, just 60 days and a choice to find out what he was actually made of. What happened in those 60 days would take another full video to describe completely. But here is what I can tell you. It was not a fairy tale. He did not go viral. Truly understood by a stranger is one of the most profound experiences a human being can have. And that proof compounded. That proof became the foundation he rebuilt on. Not the job he took next, which was better and more aligned than anything he'd had before. Not the relationship he eventually built with someone who knew who he actually was and loved that person instead of the performance. The foundation was the proof, the internal evidence that he had not been wrong about himself, that the fire was real, that it was worth protecting. That is the you that the people in your life will remember. That is the you that looks back from the end of a long life and says, yes, yes, I showed up. Yes, I tried. Yes, I fell and got back up more times than I can count. Yes, I chose the castle in the air when everything in the world was trying to sell me the chains. Yes, I lived. And right now, from wherever you are sitting or standing or lying down listening to this, I want you to make one small decision. Not a grand gesture, not a dramatic life overhaul, just one decision. To not go back to sleep, to stay awake to the signal inside you, to give that fire one more day, and then another after that. That's how this works. That's how it has always worked. One more day of choosing yourself stacked on top of another until one day you look back and realize the distance you've covered is staggering. You were built for this. The wings will grow back. They always do. Now go, and don't forget to share this with someone who needs to hear it today. You already know who that person is.